coming this afternoon from the Mussar room of Yishuv Mezad, base Mussar Mezad in Gush Etzion. This afternoon we have, I hope and pray, the mamish that will have Siyat Shemai will help from heaven to communicate and to understand this important Mussar. The base of Mikdash has been destroyed for many, many years, and it says in the Gemara, in Brachos, that a Kodesh Baruch Hu cries 3 times a day that he had to destroy his house, and his children exiled his children from his house and his table. And we made a calculation how many times he's been crying over that. It's more than 1 million times since this the base of Mussar was destroyed. And my Rabbi, Rabbi Mordechai Goldstein, Kodesh Lavacha, he said that a person should imagine in their heart that if Hashem has feelings, even though we know he doesn't have feelings, but we have to picture he does. So if you picture how he's been crying more than 1 million times, because he had to destroy his house and his children are exiled, and we're in the gullus we're in. So I hope and pray that Hashem will help this Mussar to understand it, and it'll help us to bring back the redemption of our people throughout the Hashem. So the title of this Mussar Shmuz is How Can We Eradicate Sinat Chinam and Bring Back Our Holy Base on Mikdash very soon in our days. That's the title. So now we're talking about Klal Yisrael's Sinat Chinam. So Sinat Chinam was, according to the Gemara, it was the cause of Hashem's destroying his holy second temple. He destroyed it himself. He destroyed it from the heavens. And the cause why he did it was the Jewish people had Sinat Chinam. And so now we want to talk about that subject. And according to the Haim, so we, Hashem's beloved people, were afflicted with this Sinat Chinam more than ever today, even in the time when he destroyed his temple. So now, stand a little bit. What is Sinat Chinam? So first of all, Sinat Chinam is a hatred. It's a hatred. It's a type of hatred. Now, hatred is a negative commandment of our holy Torah. It says a verse, "Thou shalt not hate your brother in your heart." That's the basis. It's a mitzvah love. It's a love in the Torah, not to hate your brother. So now Sinat Chinam is a particular type of hatred. And Sinat Chinam, the definition, you understand, Sinat Chinam is a hatred without a justifiable cause. There's hatred, a person understands, and usually hatred has a cause, but Sinat Chinam is hatred without a justified cause. People may think they're justified, but the definition is hatred without a justifiable cause. And what happened because of that? And the nature of this is it leads to many things. It leads to lashon hara, it leads to resentment, it leads to bad feelings, it leads to revenge, it leads to bearing grudges, and it separates one of us from another. All the Jewish people were children of Hashem, and the Sinat Chinam separates one from another. That's a very terrible thing, and very painful for all of us. Even maybe we don't always feel it, understand it, but it's really, our souls feel it very strongly. So now, if you'll sincerely ask, why does anyone feel Sinat Chinam in their hearts for their fellow Jew? Why is that? Why is that? Why do we feel these kind of feelings? So that's the question we have. So the answer is simply that a person, you would think that another person, another Jew, caused you some kind of loss, some kind of pain, some kind of damage. Like he was a competitor with you in business, he made you lose business, he said something in public about you that you got embarrassed from, you had pain from it. A person thinks that another Jew did something that caused him some kind of loss, pain, or damage. So then how can we fix this terrible sin of Haim? How are we going to fix this? What's the tikkun? What's the fixing? That's the question. So now we're going to talk about how to answer that question. So I want to start to say my Rebbe, Rabbi Mordechai Goldstein, Kodesh Levavcha, passed away already 5 years. He said, according to his traditions from his rabbi and his rabbis, that the fixing, the tikkun of sinas chinam is betachon. It's betachon. It's trusting our Father in heaven, Hashem. It's trusting Him. So it sounds like a very interesting answer, right? So you would say now, how can we understand? How are we going to understand that answer? How do we understand that's the fixing, the token in Hashem? So my Rebbe explained what he meant by that. He explained like this. He said, what one Jew does an action, says something, has no relationship to another Jew's situation. In other words, you're in a wedding, and someone at the table says something embarrassing about in front of you. He did something. Looks like he did something. He said something. He embarrassed you. But what the truth is that what he did or said, that's just an example, has no relationship to the situation you're in. That you feel embarrassed. You think he embarrassed you. He said this thing. You felt embarrassed. And the situation you're embarrassed is because of him. No, what he said has no relationship to your situation of feeling that way. It only appears that way. You think that that's what it seems to you simply. In reality, that's he does exactly. He's the cause that had you feel what you're feeling. But it's not true. It only looks that way. But so what is the truth? The truth is that all situations in a person's life, they're only from Hashem. They're only from Hashem. He chooses shluchim, agents. He chooses agents like this person in the wedding. He chooses an agent to create the situation that you find yourself in. You're in a situation, you're at a wedding, and Hashem arranged this person to sit at your table and to say something. He arranged it. He arranged that person, him himself. That person just an agent of him to sit at the table. He sent to sit there, to talk to you, to say these things you felt embarrassed about. That's the reality. See, that's the reality. And he does this according to his purposes. He has a purpose why he did that, why he does that. And he has great wisdom involved in this, and purpose and great wisdom to be able to do things. And the person has to believe this, that this is true. This is the reality of what a person's life is about all the time. You have to believe this with unquestionable trust that this is true. This is called bitachon in Hashem, Mamash, and who He is and how He runs His world. So I like to add to my Rebbe's words that this is so. To add, of course it's so. He said it. He has a tradition, but I like to add a little bit to make it stronger, make it even more understandable. Why? Because Chazal say, our great sages, they said a very famous statement. They said, "Hakol bidei Shemaim chutz miyirat Shemaim." Everything is in the hands of heaven, Hashem's hands, except fear of heaven. That's what they said. Everything's in the hands. So everything is all the situations in the world, in a person's life. And one essential, powerful example of this in Chazal is what is David HaMelech. What's the story about David HaMelech? A famous story and this story in the Gemara, it's a Gemara Medrash. It says because of this story, Hashem made David HaMelech the fourth leg of his Kisei HaKavod, because of this story. So now, what was the story? The story was that David HaMelech was walking one day with his guards. He was traveling wherever he was going. Came to a certain place, and all of a sudden, while he's walking with his guards, someone started throwing rocks at him. And cursing him out loud. And his guards got so upset that they said, we're going to kill him. How could he do the king of Israel? The king, he's cursing and throwing rocks. We're going to kill him. So what did David HaMelech say? He said, no, He said, leave him alone. He said, leave him alone. Don't touch him. He said, why? He said, David HaMelech said, Hashem cursed me. Hashem cursed me, not this man. Hashem cursed me. That's what David HaMelech said to his guards, and they left him alone. And because he said that, and why he said it, he understood the truth about it. That was his perception of life, of reality, from the Torah, that all he studied and who he was. And because of that, he became he became the fourth leg of Hashem's Kisei Kavod in the Shemayim. Now, why is this example so important? Because my Rebbe said a very interesting thing about David HaMelech. What did he say? He said, David HaMelech, what was the great Mila, his greatness? He had a lot of things he was great for. One, the great thing he did for Klal Yisrael was what? He defined for Klal Yisrael, how do you apply our holy Torah in reality? All situations of a person's life. David HaMelech was also a person. Besides, he was the king, he was the Talmid Chacham, he was the Navi, he was the king. He was also a Jewish person. And he had to live life. He had a wife, he had children, he had situations, and every part of life, how he lived it, how Hazal talks about Gemara's Midrash and talk about what he did, how he lived his life. He defined in simplicity for all Jewish people, how do you look at each situation in your life? This situation, a wedding, this is how you act. This is when you have a child, how do you raise? How David HaMelech, here's the example. He knew from his great wisdom in studying the Torah. He lived his life according to the Torah, and it was an example how to live our life in reality in all situations. So that's why this example is so important. It shows you clearly that Hashem is the one that arranged that he was embarrassed, that he's throwing rocks and cursing him. He said Hashem's doing it, not this man. So we see clear he's a perfect example of this bitachon that we're talking about. So now we continue. So now, according to Rabbeinu Yonah in Shari Tshuva, in the third Shar, the 17th little chapter over there, it says over there's a very important mitzvah, positive mitzvah. What's that mitzvah? The mitzvah is to contemplate the greatness of Hashem. His name should be blessed. To contemplate His greatness. So what's His greatness? He runs the world. He makes everything happen in the world in front of a person, around every single person in the world, for every Jew and every person for all the time of history, beginning to the end of time. He has such greatness. He has control, and he decides, and he arranges agents to be in a situation, in a person's life, in every situation in their life, for every single person in the whole world, in the universe, for all the generations. And how could he do such a thing? How could such a thing be? The answer is because Hashem has such greatness that He created the universe, Ma'aseh Bereshis, and that way He made that He has control and a way can arrange everything He wants the way He wants on His basis, and it's totally in His hands, and that's how great He is. You have to realize it's mamish. It's a mitzvah to contemplate this greatness of Hashem. So let's take the time to deeply reflect. We should take the time. A person should take the time to deeply reflect about the absolute truth of our holy Torah. And this is part of the holy Torah, B'tachon Hashem, who is Hashem, His greatness, how He runs His world. The absolute truth of this, and affects all of us constantly. Hashem arranges all events we experience. It's called Hashgacha Prati. For our good. It's for our good. It's for our good. All the embarrassments, hurt, pain, difficulties, it's for our good. Hashem knows what's good for each person, and He arranges things to help them out. And we don't, most of the time, or many times, don't understand why, how, but this is the reality. I have to know this is true, and this is how Hashem runs His world and relates to each person from love to try to help them to improve their souls while they're alive in the world. It's for our good. And no other Jew or person is the cause of what they do in life. You think that person was throwing rocks at Hashem, at David HaMelech? No. That person wasn't the cause of throwing the rocks. Hashem is the cause of it. He used this person to throw the rocks, and used this person to curse Hashem. He used the person's mouth to curse Hashem, to curse David HaMelech. Hashem is the cause, not the person. All life experiences, like this is reality. This is reality. If they know, it's mamish. And when you do this, and you relate to it, this understanding and this reality, and you put it in your heart, so it's going to help Hashem to bring the final redemption of our people, of our holy people, very soon, because this is the tikkun, the fixing of the destruction of the temple, to believe in Hashem that He does everything in the world for our good, and He knows what's good for each individual and for the whole nation, and He wants to have us be close to Him and love Him and understand Him and serve Him, and He does many ways and things that are hard to understand, but He does it for His purposes, and we have to relate to this and put it in our hearts. And if we do this, it's going to help to bring the final redemption of our holy people very, very soon. So I hope and pray, Mamish, that we individually, each one of us, will take the time and try to the best of our ability, each one according to his level, to do this, reflect on it, think about it, Hashem's greatness, think about it, relate to it, and you know, and you have to know that you can succeed. You can succeed at accomplishing this according to your level, and even some degree, whatever it is. And don't think it's so difficult and it's so amazing you can't relate to it. No, you can succeed. Why? Because my Rebbe's Rebbe, Rav Henrik Leibowitz, he said that the basis of why a person can succeed in this way is because of our holy neshama. Your neshama, your soul, has such incredible spiritual power that to achieve whatever we would never think is possible. You never think it's possible to understand Hashem and His greatness, and we could bring the final redemption just by having this trust in Hashem. You think, but you think it's so beyond. How could it be? Even we explain everything, but he said, no, your neshama knows the truth, and when you do the mitzvah of deeply considering Hashem's greatness and understanding this mitzvah of b'tachon Hashem, the neshama that you have, that Hashem gave you, that sent you into the world with, is going to able you to be able to understand it, relate to it, and really become true in your eyes, whatever level you're capable of. But it's mamish, and because of that, and we do it, it's going to bring the redemption of the redemption, because that is the redemption. Chazal says, when we have b'tachon in Hashem, that you run to the world, it's going to bring the geula, the final redemption. That is the tikkun. And of course, this is all with the constant help and love of our Father in heaven. May Hashem bless us to inculcate this trust in Him and His running the world according to His will. And Bezrat Hashem will mamish see the geula very soon, and will be blessed to sing to Hashem in the holy temple with all the Jewish people together in the whole world. Will bow down to Hashem and understand Him and value Him, and He'll have His will in the world, and He'll help us to prepare for the next world and to be close to Him for this world and the next world forever. Bezrat Hashem. So bless us, we should be successful.